of Iron. I'm Jon Andersen. Meet my co-hosts, Nick Best and Akim Williams. We're going to have some amazing guests on the show. Buckle up tight, because we're going to be talking about the shit you're not supposed to be talking about. We're going to be discussing anything and everything it takes to become a Legend of Iron.
Legends of Iron is brought to you by Muscle Mints. Muscle Mints is the creator of Carnivore Pure Beef Protein Icing. Beef builds muscle, and Carnivore is the world's #1 selling beef protein. Welcome to another edition of Legends of Iron, brought to you by Generation Iron. I'm Jon Andersen. With me always my partners in crime, Nick Best and Akim Williams, who unfortunately can't be here today. He just finished up with a contest at the Arnold, but we have got a great show for you. Yes, we do. This guy that's joining us today has been bodybuilding. He's a pro, but even more impressively, he's been bodybuilding for 40 years, like literally actively bodybuilding. He competed for the first time when he was 16. And he's just about ready to close the door on 56. Vinny Galanti, welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me on. It's a pleasure.
No, absolutely, brother. Well, I tell you, 40 years of actively competing in 40 years. I don't give a damn if you're talking about table tennis, if you're talking about chess. That's a hell of a big. That's a big deal, brother. You're gonna have to just back us out. You're 16. Let's go back. Let's back it up. You're 16 years old, and start off your bodybuilding story. Holy smokes, we got 40 years to cover here.
Yeah. Well, I think somewhere like around, I was about 14 years old. My dad had a weight set, had it in the garage. It's like all of us started in the garage, and it came. It was a typical Dan Laurie weight set.
Wow.
I grew up in Jersey City, New Jersey, and there was a store on the other side of town that sold all the weight stuff. It was like old school, like gym equipment store. And my dad went in there, got me, I think it was, I want to say a 210 pound set. I was 14 years old, and it came with a poster on one side. It was Arnold. And the other side, it was Frank Zane. And
no shit.
Yeah,
wow.
I looked at both sides, and guess who do you think I put up? Not Arnold. I put up Frank Zane. I said, I knew right away. I had that stature. I was skinny. I wasn't a tall guy. I was probably the shortest one in my family, and I kind of knew like I was gravitating towards Frank Zane kind of physique.
Did you take well to lifting weights? I mean, did you respond really well early on, or was it just more of like, God, I really like this poster I hung on my wall, and I'm just going to start grinding? Or were you like responding really well?
In a weird way, it was what I was meant to do. Once I opened that whole box up and put the weight set together, the smell of the weights, it just bit me, Yeah. So, I mean, you guys, you can understand that. It was using those. You remember it had the little red clamp with a little metal thing that would tie. It would lock everything in.
Yeah.
And one day I was doing flies or dumbbell presses. I can't remember. It fell off and smashed me in the face. And my father got rid of the whole set and replaced it. Now, don't laugh. We replaced it with a solo flex machine. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. So I worked out for about a year on a solo flex machine. After that, wasn't the same. And I found out that my next door neighbor was the uncle to Billy Schultz, who owned Billy's bodybuilding gym in Bayonne, which was just a bus ride away. And so at the time in 1983, it was kind of weird. It was it is Akim.
There he is. Ox joining the show here. Right on.
You know, I gotta make the bodybuilding appearance.
I was gonna say, yeah, we were, but actually, we got a sneak peek. Vinny said that when you guys were in the gym, that you dinged your shoulder a little. Oh, there you go, dropped out. Where'd he go? I love it. He's gonna love the fact that we got some inside scoop on before he even showed up today.
No, maybe he's mad at me. I don't know. I don't want to get him more pissed off.
No, I don't think it's possible to upset Akim. I've never seen him do anything but smile.
Yep, I know. Always in a good mood. Always in a good mood.
So, all right. So back to Billy's the gym. This is bus right away.
Bus right away. Back in 83, 84, it was kind of weird. It was like guys had a 3-day split. Guys trained Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if I can recall, Sundays the gym was closed, and there were a lot of power lifters in there and bodybuilders. There was no like everybody either competed or they were just starting out. And I was one of the kids just starting out. And I was fortunate to learn from some really big guys and guys who knew how to train. I learned old school methods that just don't exist today.
Yeah. Cool. We had a place like that in Vegas called Eiferman's back in the day, and old George Eiferman. It was the only big gym here in Vegas forever. And then they started.
How long ago was that, Nick? That must have been a while ago because there's gyms everywhere now.
Yeah, we're talking the thing. It was going probably maybe even in the 60s, but I mean, I graduated high school in 86, and I'd come back from college and train in there all the way through into the 90s, and I think it went out sometime in the 90s or early 2000s is when it closed.
Cool.
Wow.
But they didn't have air conditioning. So
there we go. Especially in Vegas. Holy shit.
Yeah, there was a cold plunge in the men's locker room, so you could go in there and jump in there, cool off, and go back out and train.
Yeah. So Vinny, you're talking about some of this old school stuff like we're talking about. I love it. Like with Nick's is talking about in Vegas. I love these old school vibes. You're talking about learning some stuff from the old school. Share some of that stuff with us because, I mean, really, let me think about it. You're 56 years old. I'm 51. Nick's in between us somewhere. I always forget.
I'm 54.
54. Okay.
I'll be 55 this year, though, but it's okay.
So, but the point is, there's not that many of us left that actually trained in that era. So, share some of that stuff with us, brother.
So, like for instance, like I see like a lot of guys just go right into a movement, have no mind muscle connection, just do the exercise. Akim sees it down in Stronger Shape. A lot of young guys will just start pounding away. I remember, I'll give you an example. I had this guy teach me how to train triceps, and he taught me to push with the palm of my hand when I would use a V-bar, and don't use my whole entire hand pushing it down. Use it through the back of your hand and be in a stretched position before you even start the exercise. Have an engagement with the muscle. It sounds silly to a lot of the new guys today, but I don't have the propensity. Never had the body type to put on the mass like Akim has. It would never happen for me. I could take all the drugs in the world, and that wouldn't happen. I knew that, and trust me, I tried. Back in '96, I tried. I can tell you that story, but it just didn't work, and I knew that. I was fortunate to learn how to train because the only way I would grow was from stimulating, like Lee Haney would say back in the day, don't annihilate, stimulate, right? Yeah. And I took that, I took that very serious. I take my training very serious, and I appreciate the fact that I could train alongside guys like Akim and get motivated and inspired to see what they're doing. Akim, how old are you now?
38.
38, yeah. So we're like 20 years apart, and it's inspiring to be in it. Like Strong and Shapely, where we train, is where I really started after Billy's gym in Bayonne. I started going to Strong and Shapely. I think I was 17 or 18, back and forth until I finally got a car. Then I would go out there quite often and train. And Bob Bonham was the original owner. And he really really took it serious with the competitors. And if you were a serious competitor, he'd give you a free membership, and then you had to prove yourself. Jersey was a lot different back in the day, where you don't have guys today bragging about qualifying. Like I would go to Diamond Gym in Maplewood, and it was hardcore. If you walked into that place and bragged that you qualified for something, you get either laughed at, right, Akim? You get laughed at. But today it's like I walk in there like when I was 17, it looks exactly the same. It's kind of like going home, so it's kind of cool. Like I still get that vibe. A lot of places I could train in Jersey has a lot of good vibe gyms.
That's nice. That's really cool, brother. That's really cool. So, so you're 16 years old. Your dad bought you the weight set. Then he gets you a Bowflex. You're not liking that, so now you realize that you can take a bus to get to Billy's gym. Keep on going, brother.
So I was 16, and I walked into Billy's. And just like we were saying earlier about the smell of the weights, right? I walked into the gym and the rubber. Actually, no, wait. Let me back up. While I was working out, I was taking at my house. I was taking karate across the street from Billy's, and had no idea Billy's even existed. Wow. I walked out of the dojo with my friend Dino, and it was like this Billy's just hit me. And I'm like, Dino, when did that get there? He's like, you're an idiot. It's been there the whole time. I'm like, really? I had no idea. And it was at Billy's. It was a big sign. So walked across the street, opened the door, and all these muscle heads were just cranking it out. And I'm like, this is where I belong. The smell of the rubber floor, the weights, it probably was at the time better than sex. It was like,
brother, no, in what you're describing, I remember the gym that I felt the same way. I remember I walked in and I was like, God, there's just walking in there, the smell of it and just the sound of it. It was just like, I so remember what you're talking about. And that's really cool, brother. I mean, the fact that, I hope that everybody ended up having that experience, but unfortunately we know that, nowadays, it's just a different experience when someone goes to a gym for the first time.
And then I grew up in a very strict Italian household. My mother was, so my oldest sister, Charlotte, is 16 years older than me. And then my sister Teresa is 14 years older than me. And my sister Mary is 11 years older than me. And then it's me. So I came from a very strict Italian family. My mother had a tight, rope on me. She didn't let me go too far. So it was a lot of begging to get onto the bus to go to Bayonne, So for me to get into the gym, it was like, I was at the time kind of like, I guess, sheltered. I lived in a bad area. She wanted to make sure I didn't get into any fights. That didn't happen. Got in a fight. I wanted to be the kind of kid that got the girls, but I also wanted to be this alpha guy, and I didn't know how to do that. Combine the both, and I was very confused as a kid. And like all of us are, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say we're all confused as kids, brother.
Yeah. So
I've been married for 13 years. I'm still confused.
You get it. So I saw the guys that were competing. They were getting ready for the 1984 Mr. Hudson County. It was a non-sanctioned event, and I'm like, what do I do to enter this thing? How do I go about it? And they're like, well, you got to go on a diet, and you have to get color on you. You got to carb up the night before. And they're telling me all these things, and they're laughing because they're thinking I'm never going to do it. So the closest thing I knew about nutrition was, all right, cottage cheese sounds good, fish sounds good. So this is true. I'm not making this up. So I would eat cottage cheese. I'd eat McDonald's fish fillet sandwiches, and I think some eggs. And I was getting ready for this thing.
So the fish fillet was part of your pre-contest diet.
Wow.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Back then, if you clearly could remember, did McDonald's taste differently back then?
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah.
What was it? What did you say, Ak? What was the question? I didn't.
Back in 1984, I'm asking him if McDonald's tastes differently back then.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So I got ready. Foods.
That's great. That's great. A fillet of fish in the contest diet. This is beautiful.
Yeah, I would just open up the bun, and scrape off the whatever the sauce was, and I would put eat like maybe 2 or 3 of those, and I was serious about it. And then they said, yeah, you got to eat a potato the night before. I'll never forget this. I ate a potato the night before, and I was like, well, how do I get tan? I said, well, and they were fucking breaking my balls. They said, you have to go and get this stuff called QT, quick tan, and then get food coloring and make the color of toast and mix it all together and then rub it all over yourself. So I did it, and I got a great tan, and it worked. But they were breaking my chop. They were breaking my balls, and they were like laughing. But it worked. I had a good tan. Those guys took me under their wing. They're lifelong friends of mine.
Real quick, in those days, I can kind of remember the same thing. When you were young and you were trying to working hard, the guys that have been doing it for a decade, they wanted to press you to see if you were gonna break or if you're gonna keep coming.
Absolutely. And I think that's a beautiful thing. It's totally you rarely find that anymore. But I mean, we all went through that. I mean, we had to earn. I mean, just to have somebody answer a question for us, you had to earn your stripes. Yeah, absolutely. And I grew up, in a pretty tough area, and to go to Billy's and mix with those guys who were all 10 years older than me, I got to watch. I had 2 guys. So at the time, it was the AAU and the NPC. And I had Chuck Waldron at the time training. Wow. I think he had won the Mr. World, Mr. Universe, Mr. America, all of that. And he was competing at the same time. Jon Andersen was training for the NPC Nationals. And they respectively both won the contest they were going into. And I just saw it like as a from a 17-year-old kid at that time. This is a business. And I heard the stories that John would talk about meeting Joe Weider, and he's a business guy. And eventually, 10 years later, I got to meet Joe Weider when I won the USA in '93. So it was pretty cool to go through all of that, earn my stripes, as you say. Basically, like, I think I walk up to kids today and go, what are you doing on your phone? Your phone's not going to get you in shape. Come on, what are you doing? Get off your phone. And they're like, well, he's got to do a set. I'm waiting for him. I'm like, where's the engagement? Where's the training partner attitude?
Yeah.
It doesn't exist anymore. And the guy I work out with sometimes, this guy Juan, he'll be like, Vin, you got to let it go. That era is done.
It's gone. It's done. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to, like that messes my head up sometimes because I want to give back, So I see the young guys and I want to give back, but there's that wall up.
Well, the thing, brother, is that we came from the era where we actually got to experience the camaraderie and the sweat and it was like you couldn't wait to go to battle in a good way with your partners. It's like you were going to war, you're fighting the same war, you're not fighting with them, but it was like the competition of kicking ass, trying to get one more rep and pushing each other. And, it's like, if you've never experienced that, it's really hard to explain, hey, come give this a try. These kids are looking at us like, what the fuck am I going to do with my phone when I'm doing all that?
Yeah, but also though, you got to remember, we were also told our generation still respects our elders. We still listen to what our elders have to say and their experience because their experience is more valuable because they've already lived through it. The generations coming out now are told the older generation got it all wrong.
Well, check this out. This is interesting because obviously Vinny are at the top in terms of our bracket here. Because Vinny, Nick, me, and then Ak, you're kind of like but you're down year 38, so you're what, 13 years down the track. So you tell us what you kind of came in. We came into this. You got to earn your stripes. What did you come into?
I came in right at the era where social media kind of started.
Okay.
So at the beginning of the whole social media craze, right before it really took off and everything like that. Remember MySpace?
Were phones in the gym at that point when you first started, or no?
It was finally making its way into the gym. Yeah.
Was it?
Not as crazy as it is now, but it was actually coming in. Like I remember when I first started, I was taking videos and stuff like that. I was one of those knuckleheads that would try to like film everything that I did and stuff like that because I wanted to document all my stuff, you know, because I had a guy, his name is Jon Pena. I still remember him.
John.
Yeah. He would say to me, if you don't have it on video, then you didn't do it. Exactly.
Yeah. Dude, that means Nick and I haven't done a fucking thing.
Exactly. So you'd always tell me that was his one rule. Like if I go to the gym, I'm like, John, I squatted 6 plates. He's like, you got it on video? Nope. Well, you didn't do that.
Oh my God, that's insane.
I got a few of the old things on 8mm somewhere. But I gotta convert that over.
No, I mean, literally, I have some stuff on fucking VHS. I have stuff on. It's like a tape like this fucking big. Like the kids today don't even know what a VHS is. You know?
Right.
What were you saying, Vinny? Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say that, like the era that I also like. It also, like, I never was a strong guy. I was never a guy who was going to squat 6 plates. It was a good day if I was squatting 405, but I had the common sense and the confidence to know what my abilities were when I was coming up. I would challenge myself, but I also knew that my bone structure wasn't going to handle a lot of weight. I saw the guys that were powerlifters and weightlifters. I was taught live and die in the power rack, and the bodybuilders taught me how to diet. And so I got best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I knew that high reps always worked for me. And I always had this, I knew that when I would diet for a contest is when I made my best gains. And in the off season, I actually became smaller and chubbier. And yeah, it was like weird. But when I would diet and have a smaller waist and eating cleaner, that's when I would grow. And I had to get around that because I wanted to be big. I wanted to like grow. And it wasn't going in that direction. But I started learning
I remember I used video to back that up. I remember guys that had that same call it syndrome, if you will. It's because their off season, they didn't put enough attention into their off-season diets, and the nutrient value was lower, so they ended up getting chubbier and losing mass because their protein would drop as they would be eating other, shittier foods. Then when you diet, the protein goes back up, and you actually start getting, bigger and stronger. So that's kind of the.
And maybe that was me. I don't know. Maybe that was me. But I just knew that at the end of the day, that jack dude was going to be the same as me on contest day in the sense of size wise. So when I saw years ago, I was guest posing at the Southern States. I think it was 1997. I think it was 97. And it was 11 weeks before the Mr. Olympia, and Kevin Levrone and I were in the lobby, and Kevin was probably 205 pounds, 11 weeks out from the Olympia. And I thought Kevin was emceeing the show. And he's like, yeah, we'll help each other pump up. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm guest posing with you tonight. I said, you mean I'm guest posing with you? Because he's Kevin Levrone. So we get out. I'm pumping up, and I'm like feeling great about myself because I'm bigger than Kevin, right? And then 11 weeks later, the guy's coming into the Olympia taking second to Dorian at 242 pounds.
Oh,
how did he do that? And I talked to him, and he just had so much confidence in himself to know that all those years of training, it's still there. He just gives his body a rest and then does all that work for the contest. And so I kind of approached that later as I'm competing in the Masters division, which I'm very grateful that I'm able to compete again. Especially now because I've had so many injuries. I have 14 screws throughout both shoulders. I had 9 anchors put in this one New Year's Eve 2014-15, and then a little over a year later in 2016, I have 5 anchors in this one, and it took me 3 years to come back. And
so how many times did you end up competing? You competed the first time when you're 16. You turned pro when? Did you say 93?
2008.
2008. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ.
So backtrack to when you won the USA's in 98, you said?
96.
I won the USA in 93 as a middleweight, the year Chris Cormier won.
Okay.
That's what
back then.
That's what I was thinking.
They only gave pro card to what classes?
Yeah.
USA,
Okay.
Chris Cormier was the only guy who turned pro.
So they only gave pro card to one person.
So I think, like 3 or 4 people turned pro. The men's bodybuilding, women's bodybuilding, women's fitness, and that was it. 3 pro.
Yeah.
Fast forward today. If you won your class at the USA's or whatever, you actually win your pro card. So it was totally different.
Totally
competition
different.
back then. Yeah, that's
Totally different competition.
No, it's sports in general. I swear to God, it seems like strength was the same way. When I won my pro card in strongman, there was only 4 or 5 that they would let through every year. Yeah. Now, fuck man, there's 4 or 5 that come through in a contest. Same thing when I was bodybuilding. Obviously, lucky for me, I was in the later era of bodybuilding because I was able to, obviously I got my pro card quickly, but hell, there was I think the contest where I turned pro, I think there was 8 people that turned pro in that one fucking show. So.
Now, Vinny, doesn't that kind of piss you off a little bit?
What do you mean?
Back in 97?
Well, it does. Listen, Akim, it's a business, and I've always looked at.
Yeah, but think about it. If you had gotten your pro card as a middleweight back then, right? You could have used all those years to make those gains and compete as a professional instead of on the hunt for your pro card up until the 2000s. So you wasted a lot of years where you could be competing as a professional and doing the business of bodybuilding versus trying to be an amateur and trying to get your pro card.
So I have thought of that, and I think of it this way: if I did turn pro in '93, my career probably would have ended in 2000 sometime, and this podcast would never happen with me. No, be serious.
Well, explain that thought process, brother. Why would your career ended so much faster?
I don't mean it. So because I looked at bodybuilding as a business, and so what I did was in 1992, I won the Junior USA, and my goal was, if I'm not going to get a pro card. See, we didn't think of pro cards back then. It was we want to win the Nationals, we want to win the USA, and if you became a professional, it was I want to go into the Night of the Champions, I want to go to Olympia and things like that.
Yeah.
And that was we respected it so much. It didn't even come out of our mouths to say I want to become an IFBB pro.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's so watered down today. So I get pissed off when I hear a guy go, "Yeah, I'm going to compete next year and then get my pro card." Fuck you.
Yeah.
What are you, an asshole? Come on, man. So
yeah.
So what I did was in '92 when I won the Junior USA, I put a packet together, and I went to Kinko's or a store like that at Kinko's, and I made this packet, put all my pictures, my titles, and I looked through Muscle and Fitness, Flex Magazine, Iron Man, every magazine. And I looked at everybody under the editor's list, and I mailed this to them over and over and over again throughout the year. Nobody responded. Nobody ever sent the letter back to say, "Thank you, we got it. We'd love to do a photo shoot." Nothing happened. And I remember my mother saying, "You just wasted $1,000." I'm like, "No, I didn't. I invested $1,000. It's going to pay off."
Yes.
So when I went to the USA in '93, which happened to be in California at Gold's Gym, where everybody was training, and the Civic Center was where the contest was in Santa Monica. I won the class, which was great. But then all the photographers were like, "Hey, that's the fucking idiot that's been sending us letters every fucking 3." And it was that's the way they were like, "Are you the fucking guy who's been sending me letters?" I'm like, "Yep." So I was booked with photo shoots from literally Saturday night when I walked off stage to Tuesday night.
It's fucking perfect.
Nice.
right?
That's beautiful,
And
brother.
So that $1,000 paid off. And then I looked
That's
at it.
Beautiful.
Okay, now I just made a relationship with about 10 photographers. 4 of them I shot with, and the others I made appointments with later on in the year. I went back to California, did some more shoots. And I thought, okay, so Akim, you know, like today, if you hire a photographer, you got to pay out of your pocket to do that photo shoot. Where, like, we lost them. So back then it was you did a photo shoot with the photographer. They in return tried to sell to the magazine, and if it got into the magazine, you're getting publicity. So I looked at it as an investment in my career. So I'm gonna plug away and train for the Nationals, and I'm gonna try to win. But if that doesn't happen, I'm gonna secure enough publicity for the year, where maybe in return I can get guest posing, seminars, and parallel that into something else. So after the Nationals, every year, I would fly out to Venice Beach, set up photo shoots with all the photographers that I can get a hold of. Usually it was about 3 to 5, got 3 to 5 photographers, and would do shoots the whole week after the Nationals. And it taught me how to stay in shape right after the show, where a lot of guys would blow up. And I never blew up. I remember one day Jim Mannion saw me. It was like a week after the show, and he's like, "What are you doing? You look great. Are you gonna like? What do you?" I'm like, "Well, there is no other show, Jim, but I'm doing photo shoots." And he respected the fact that I would stay in shape for the shoots.
Yeah,
and,
you came in ready for the shoots like a professional.
So I did that, and I was guest posing and traveling from 95 to about 2005 for about a good 10-year period.
Well, you know, in those days, I mean, literally, it was so difficult to get a pro card. You had top amateurs that were covers of magazines that were making great money, guest posing and doing appearances. So it was, to a certain extent, you took that, you played that role without a pro card pretty fucking well, brother.
Yeah, I had a contract with Universal Nutrition for 18 years, and I got to be with the animal crew, even though I wasn't on that side of the business guys would be under contract with Animal and some were Universal. I was with Universal, but every time the cage was at the Arnold, I got a chance to go because I was the MC to all of the events. And people will come up to me all the time and go, "Hey, what are you doing next?" I'm like, "I'm going to do the Nationals." "Nationals? Aren't you a pro?" I'm like, "Nope." Yeah, people thought I was a pro. And then, I did, I think that 2005 was the last time I did the Nationals. And I had taken a break after 9/11, and I opened up my first personal training studio. And the bug bit me early in 2005 to compete one more time. And my wife said to me, "Listen, I'm cool. We're good. You can compete. I've never put any pressure on you to not compete or have any timeline. But if you don't crack the top 5, you haven't been on stage in 5 years. If you don't crack the top 5, you promise me you're done." I said, "I promise." So I was training for the contest, and I took 5th. I took 5th place, and I didn't have any interest in 2006 to compete because I just didn't want to do it. I was focused on my business, and things were going well with that. And then 2007,
because now we're getting close to you winning your pro card, so keep this timeline going.
Yeah, so 2007, I was 40, and I decided, let me give this Masters Nationals a shot and see if I can, maybe get my pro card there. And I was thinking the timeline, now the clock is ticking. I'm 40, I don't have it, and maybe this is never going to happen. And I was okay with that because I had such a good career with all of the exposure and publicity and traveling around the world and training alongside other pros and just doing what pros do, except I didn't have IFBB next to my name. So as I was training for the contest, I was feeling lethargic. I was feeling something was wrong, and I'm too stubborn to stop. I just won't stop. I'll go through with it. Even if I know I'm looking like shit, if I made a commitment, I'm making that commitment to the end. Mm-hmm. And I ended up taking second place in the light heavyweight class. I looked okay, but I was hard as nails and ripped and dry. And 2 hours later, I was holding water, and I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. Like, what? I wasn't changing anything. I wasn't manipulating sodium. I wasn't carb depleting. I wasn't doing anything to make that drastic change. So the show's over. I go home. I'm not feeling good, and I got this massive headache. And the next day, I realized my whole face was paralyzed, and I was brushing my teeth.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, I had Bell's palsy, and it turned out that I actually had Lyme disease, and I didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah. So a few months before, I saw the circle under my armpit, but I thought it was from shaving. I thought it was an ingrown hair, and I would take my dog up to a reservation where I live, and that's how I got the tick bite. Yeah. And yeah, so that sucked, and I had to go through all of that, and so then I got my health back, and so let me train for the Masters Nationals in 2008, and I'm gonna do the best I can. I want to just rock this show and go to the Nationals in November, and if I don't win, I'm gonna call it a career. I was very happy. I was actually in a good place, and now this goes back to the mindset of the 80s and 90s. As I was saying to you earlier, Akim, it wasn't like training for an IFBB pro card. It was training for the Nationals. We had a lot of respect for the title, for the USA. And so when I went to the Masters Nationals, my mindset was, I'm going to do the best I can. I want to look amazing so they remember me in the Nationals. Oh, I win the overall, and I get a pro card. And I remember Steve Weinberger coming up to me going, duplicate this. Step on stage next year. And I was like, no, Steve, I'm doing the Nationals in November. I said, no. You have your pro card. You're a pro, then. No, Steve, I go, wait, what are you talking about? And it just didn't hit me. Yeah. I remember going to my hotel room, like it was this wave of emotion, 16 years. And I just broke down crying. And like, it took me a while, like to recover from that. And I remember getting off right before that, which I think triggered that, was I was getting on the elevator, and I believe it was Jim Mannion, and he said, "What's your first pro show going to be?" And I'm like, "Well, I got to process this, man. What are you talking about? Like, I want the title, the Nationals." And as men, we don't have the greatest ability to express when things are upsetting us. We want to make sure that everyone thinks we got it all figured out, and we're men and we don't talk, right? So that's a stupid thing. And I learned as I've gotten older, just let your feelings be known. It's okay. So I had a hard time dealing with turning professional at the Masters Nationals, and I actually thought in my own head at the time that my peers were making fun of me for turning pro not in the Nationals. Okay. And it fucking ate at me. And I don't think that I gave it that 100% into my first pro shows, because I felt like I didn't belong there. I felt like I took a back door to get there, and I was embarrassed, and I was making it all up in my head. I was making it up and just recently I just posted, somebody sent me the pose down of the Masters Nationals in 2008, and I actually kind of like got a little teary-eyed, because I'm like, what an asshole I was at the time, thinking I didn't deserve being a pro, because I beat guys who were in the Nationals for years with me. And I see the condition I was in, and man, if I just listened to Steve Weinberger and duplicated that and forgot pro card, how I got the pro card, whatever, and maybe I would have done had a better career at that time. So I entered the New York Pro in 2009, and I looked good. I looked really good, but I took 7th, and to me that was like failure. I took 7th. I'm not in the top 3 or top 5 in the New York Pro, and I had these fantasies as a kid, like to be on stage at the New York the night of the champions, and now we don't have that anymore, and it's the New York Pro, same title, but it was different, and I was having a hard time processing everything, and I didn't realize, well, like 3 guys ahead of me were in the Olympia last year in the top 5. And I'm like, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking as I took 7th, because I'm so hard on myself, and I'm a quiet guy, and people don't realize like the shit that just goes on in my head. Like I'm still that guy sometimes. Like I wonder if people are talking about me. I'm better at it now, but I had a hard time coming around to, okay, I'm gonna really attack this Masters division now. I'm gonna go full force. I would love to do a 212 show again. I would love to do that, because in 2000, because it just kept spiraling out of control. Every contest I did, I thought I was trying harder, but I really wasn't. I was really sabotaging myself to fulfill the prophecy of people talking shit about me, if that makes any sense. Because it really wasn't. It didn't exist. Nobody cared how I turned pro. Nobody cared about anything else except what they did.
You know, brother, I was gonna say that's it. But nobody fucking watches. We all think, oh, everybody's watching. Nobody's fucking watching us. Everybody's more concerned what the fuck they're doing for themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's even. I mean, even if you get like the most, like I heard,
John.
Yeah.
You can't say that, because John Meadows was watching you when you turned pro.
Yeah. Very true. Meadows and I, we made amends on that one. But it's so true, because I mean, even like the top of the top in terms of famous people, they'll even say, look, nobody's fucking watching my every move. Everybody's worried about themselves, especially in today's world. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So, but it's easy to think that way for sure, brother. I totally get it,
Yeah. So, but now, back in 2017, I started my comeback, and it was after my shoulder surgeries. The bug bit me again. I was like, there's only one way I know how to get in shape, and it's to train for a show. And so I probably rushed it a little bit, but that's okay, because it was a learning process, and it was one thing led to another. So 2017, I took dead last in the Masters Baltimore Pro, which is the smallest of all the Master shows, probably the smallest of all the shows. And that was embarrassing. And then I did it again the next year and took dead last again. And I'm like, all right, what am I doing wrong here? And that was the first time that I put everything aside and said, I don't know what I'm doing, and I need help. And that's the first time I ever thought like that in my career. And so a chain of events happened. When I got back from Baltimore that weekend in 2018, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, and at the time couldn't stand Tom Brady and the Patriots. And they were playing that. I think they were playing that night, and they did this little clip on Tom Brady. And going back to what you were saying earlier about eating in the off season and making progress, Tom Brady was saying the amount of effort he puts into his off season, and that resonated. That just hit me, and I'm like, well, maybe I'm not giving myself a good enough off season. How do I have a better off season? And at the time, people were talking about recovery work and doing massages and cupping, and I'm like, and ice baths and you name it, right? So I'm like, all right, how do I incorporate all of this stuff to recover? How do I get bigger again? How do I train around having 14 screws in my shoulders? And how do I get to the next contest? And I want to crush my next contest. I don't want to just win it. I want to crush it. So at first I started like thinking about, okay, what kind of program do I want? And the first thing that I thought of was, what did I do in powerlifting? And the way bodybuilding, we just go and train, and there's really not many systems out there. Today there are coaches out there that have programs, but a couple of years ago it didn't really exist, and if they did, I didn't know about it. So I went back to what I learned in powerlifting and how I would implement just increasing the weight each week. And then I found a program from Ironman magazine. I think that was in like late 70s or early 80s. It was Principles of Progression. It's an old article, and it kind of like made a little sense to me. And it was the first time I ever followed a program. Can't remember the whole thing, but I followed that. And then I went into researching and studying under, oh my God, I can't remember the guy's name right now. He passed away. Charles Poliquin. Charles Poliquin, I started reading a lot of his stuff about training. And then Ellington Darden with like how Menser trained and Dorian trained. And I just started implementing all this kind of stuff. And I never thought, and then I stumbled onto Lee Labrada, and Lee Labrada was a proponent of training like Mike Menser. And I thought, well, my physique is in that direction, like Lee Labrada's direction. So let me try this, doing like a 5x5 program, 5-3-1 programs from powerlifting. And I started doing all this stuff where, okay, I can't lift heavy, but if I can lift 10 pounds heavier, and 10 pounds heavier, it adds up. And that's what I started doing. And my mass came back, everything came back. And I had a good showing at the Masters for Pro in 2019. And it was weird because I wasn't training like a bodybuilder. I have morphed into this power building thing that I couldn't even tell you what the hell I was doing, but it was low sets.
It was working.
And I win the over 50. So I said to my wife at the time, I go, hey, because our printer broke. I said, I'm going to email you the contract. She calls me. She goes, you emailed me the 50 and the 40. I said, yeah, I got to win both of them. She's like, well, you think you want to do that? Because you just took dead last the last 2 years. I'm like, oh, thanks for the confidence, man. So I went in, and I saw all the guys that I possibly thought was going to compete in it. And that just motivated me. I knew the condition I needed to be in. And just prior to starting prep, somebody said to me, how are you going to approach this with your diet? Like, what are you going to come in at? What weight? And I thought, I've always looked my best as a light heavyweight, anywhere between 195 and 198 pounds. That's my best. So that was my goal. I pretended there was a weight class, and I aimed for 198 and a quarter. And I think I competed at around 196 or 7. And I ended up winning the 50 and the 40. And It was a great night. And I really thought I would get back on stage at the New York Pro. But then we got hit with, the coronavirus, and the world got shut down. And I never thought like I would have this resurge and, a career rekindled in the Masters. I never, that wasn't the direction I wanted to go in. I wanted to do a 212, the New York Pro, and really just call it a day. I didn't think there was any more life in me. I didn't think there was anywhere to go. So the world shuts down, and I started again applying everything I learned with all these training methods. I started falling into this, and I think, and I swear to God, I didn't take it from John Meadows. I just developed it on my own. I think he does 4 reps, and then an all-out set. I was doing 5 reps, and somebody says, "Oh, you're doing Meadows' program." I'm like, "No, I just made this up," and they didn't believe me. And I was like, "No, I would never do that. I wouldn't say I'm not doing somebody's program if I was." So I find for me, 5 reps and increasing the weight each set gets me to use a weight I really have never used before. Mm-hmm. And then it gives me the opportunity then to go to failure for a set or two. I'm probably doing, I guess you call them feeder sets, and then a top set. And then I had the whole year to have that great off season. I came back in the Masters Baltimore Pro. I thought I got to go back there and redeem myself. God bless you.
Sorry.
And I ended up winning the 50, the 40, and the 35 that night, all three.
Nice.
And then I went to the Masters Legion, and I took second in the 212 Masters to Rusty Jeffers. He was a great competitor. And then right after the Masters Pittsburgh Pro, I went to the Hurricane Pro, and I won the 50 there, and I took third in the over 40. And then I got a couple. What else did I won a couple more. I got 8 in total. And now hopefully I get invited to the Masters Olympia. Which would be pretty cool. We find out in 6 weeks from tonight.
Right on, brother. Right on. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, that's a great bodybuilding story right there. You know?
Listen, man, before my feet hit the floor every morning, and this is true, I'm excited knowing I'm going to train. And you got to be that way to, accomplish goals and trust me, sometimes I wish I wish I was that guy that just went to work and came into the gym and had a bullshit workout sometimes and joked around with their friends, but that's not me. I don't know if I could even do that even if I was retired.
The going to you know what kills it for me, brother, is the going to work part. That's the part that stops it. As soon as that part came out of your mouth, I was like, no, I don't want whatever comes along with that. I don't want it.
Well, you know what I mean.
I got you.
Yeah, I don't know. I worked a lot of years and with the beer companies and stuff, and I still went to the gym and just went after it. I just didn't care.
Oh yeah, no, brother. I'm not saying that's not possible. I was just saying the going to work part that's the part that killed the rest of the statement for me.
I find it funny when guys today we'll talk about they need a GoFundMe page to train for a show or what all that shit, right?
Jesus
I'm like,
Christ.
what are you talking about? Well, when I competed in the '93 USA, I worked for the Jersey City Parking Authority in Jersey City, and I used a jackhammer and installed parking meters while I was dieting for the contest. So I just don't understand the work ethic, the mindset today, because when I don't complain. I don't know the my pain tolerance is so stupid that sometimes I don't know if I should be stopping or not. Sometimes.
Yeah, I get that.
I think you guys can relate to what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
I thrive on if somebody calls me out, in the gym kind of setting. If you tell me you ain't gonna do that, or you got 2. If you're doing a set, you got 2 more, 3 more. I'm gonna do 5 more.
Hang on, watch this. Exactly.
Yeah. I enjoy it. I enjoy, I wish bodybuilding was a team sport sometimes because I like that camaraderie. But at the same time,
well, back in the day, that's kind of what it was like. That's what we were talking about in the old school gyms. Even though it's an individual sport, we were all there on the same team. You know what I mean?
But I find it funny. I work at a gym that there's probably a good handful of competitors, and they don't know each other. None of them talk to each other. They look at each other they look at each other like they're getting ready for an MMA event. They want to.
That's how you learn. That's how you learn from each other. I mean,
that's why I love going down to Shapely, and it's almost every Monday, me and this guy Juan are training at the same time. Akim and his guys are training, and it's just a good mix to see people on your level or even higher to train, right? So I joked with this kid today. They were benching, and I joked with him, and I said, I joked with him about his phone, and he got so defensive. I had to say to him, "Yeah, I'm just teasing you," because it's the borderline of bullying and teasing. They don't understand it because they don't get their balls broke from anybody. It's kind of
so you know what? I'm bullying you about your phone. Get that fucking thing out of here. That's right.
Either use it as a camera, a permanent camera, or that's the end of that thing. Yeah.
So, Vinny, what do you think about what's kind of your position on the state of the sport? I mean, you've seen it go from way back when it was when Ak was pointing out, they gave out, just a handful of pro cards per year. Now they give out, I don't know how many they give out per year, but it's got to be deep into the double digits. What's your position on the sport? Do you like how it's evolved over the years? Do you wish it would be more like it was?
Of course, I wish it was the way it was. That's just what I'm so used to, what I liked, right? But at the same time, I stay in my lane. However it's evolving, it's evolving. Whatever I do for a prep, that's not going to change. And I can't really, I don't have any control of what that side of the fence does. So I don't really care. Let them do what they're doing. It's a business. And I just control what I could do. I don't pay too much. I don't put too much stock into it because the only thing what annoys me is the athletes who think I think they don't realize that they're disrespecting what's come before them. A lot of times, I'm sure that Akim could say, you know the history of the sport. I could throw a name at you, and you know where that guy came from and what he accomplished. And a lot of guys today have no idea. If I said Joe Weider, no idea. No one even know who Joe Weider is. And that's the name that everybody should know. Or say, did you ever see the Pump and Iron book or movie? And they're like, oh, that's that movie with Arnold, right? Like the way they say it, it's like weird. So
but there's so much iconic stuff in that movie. I mean, if you're going to be a bodybuilder, you got to watch it.
Oh,
even down to like
anybody that's lifted weights has watched that movie.
Right, yeah.
But even down to like how bands and chains are implemented in training, right? And I say, watch the movie The World versus West Side. And then they'll watch it and they'll go, wait a minute. I thought all of that stuff was recent. Chains and stuff and bands were back in like 80s. I'm like, yeah, man, like you guys didn't invent it. It just didn't become like just because social media has it. That's why it's in vogue.
Yeah, it did. It wasn't an extra when you bought your cell phone. These things have been around forever,
Yeah. And getting back to training, I'm probably have gone full circle with realizing what really works for me, which I should have been doing 30 years ago. But I tried to train too heavy back in the day because we're guys and that's what we try to do. And I hit these walls all the time. Like I can remember like trying to bench 315 and it crushing my chest and going to the hospital. And that's a serious story. I went to the hospital because I wanted to bench 315, and luckily I didn't tear my pec off. Tried squatting 6 plates one time. Like I could do this, and got pinned in it. But the thing is, like that stuff is kind of like if someone's never understood what it's like to be punched in the face, they don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how to explain what I'm saying, but like you going into a fist fight, getting punched in the face, there's a certain character about you. So when you try to do stuff that's stupid, having 6 plates on your back when you know that shouldn't happen or you shouldn't do it, it creates something in you that makes you dig deeper all the time. And that's something we don't see quite often today, where guys don't challenge themselves. I like to challenge myself, but at the same time,
100%, brother. 100%.
But there's a time to challenge yourself. But as I'm older now, I talk to guys all the time about proper warm up. And guys my age, I'm saying, anywhere from 45 and up. And there's a train now. You have to. When we were kids, we can pick the heaviest weight that we couldn't handle and still get a pump. But now we can't even pick half that weight and get a pump. We got to go about it a different way. And you know, I don't know about strongman and powerlifting. You guys are lifting so much different, and I can't even fathom thinking of training that way again.
Well, that's something that people don't understand either. Is they see one form of training and they don't understand there's many forms of training, because powerlifting training and strongman training are also vastly different as well. Yeah, they're very similar in certain areas, but vastly different in others.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah, I'm trying to get. I can do it. I have the strength to do it, but I don't have a training partner on leg day. I do it. I train alone, and I'm trying to get to 315. So I've been doing kind of like a high box to a lower box, and getting back into just having that feel on my back. The weight's going up and down. If that's not a problem, I just want to have confidence doing it. And when I post a video, people will be like, use the buffalo bar. It's a lot easier on your shoulders. I'm like, yeah, that might be the case, but I want to feel like a man. I want to have a fucking bar on my back that's bending a little bit. I'm not,
because you're the purist, brother. This new stuff is great, but you want to do what you grew up doing. You want to do the stuff that's ingrained in you, and I totally understand that.
I don't want to do 315 with a buffalo bar,
right?
Yeah, and that's going to be easy. I want to do 315 and make it challenging, you know, and just, you know,
don't pick the easiest path to reach the goal. Follow through with the goal the way you set out to do it.
Yeah.
So 2 cents. Don't squat out of a squat rack or out of a cage. Where you want to put your hands that will help with your placement, you want to put them right where those right where the barrels are.
Right where the barrels are.
Yeah.
So you get the rack that's inside, you can put your arms outside. And literally, like for me, this is the only place touching the bar. This is the barrel right there. My pinky's actually up on the plate.
Yep.
Yeah, that will help a lot with the shoulder problem, with especially you with all those pins in there, because just that little bit more like extension on it will take a lot of that pressure off. And I mean, squeeze your lats together and push down with them, and then squeeze your rear delts, and that's where you're going to stick the bar. And man, I'm going to tell you what, that 315 is going to go from when you're able to move that bar down your back about another inch, the weight is going to feel 10,000 times easier when you're coming out of the hole, especially when you get down to the hole. Because where you're at, I'm sorry, I watched your YouTube or your Instagram channel today. When you're going down with it, the bar ends up over your toes. When that 1 inch will put the bar over the middle of your foot and even ankle at the bottom, and that's where you want to be stable. When it hits there, you're just going to explode out of the hole like it's not even there. It's a whole different world.
Another way to go about that, Vinny, is what Nick is explaining to do is totally correct, and you can kind of just by taking your toes and pulling them up. If you can't keep them up, that means you're way out of position. If you can go down and up with your toes up, it feels a little goofy, then you know that you're closer where Nick wants you to be. If your toes go down, that means that bar's in front of you, which means it's getting exponentially heavier really quick.
Yeah.
Unless you're like Ak, who just stacks the bar way up on the top of his neck and just and lets his heels come off the ground this much, but still just completely rapes like 9 plates aside. Ak's the only person on the planet I've ever seen move 8-9 plates with absolutely zero, no belt, no worry about the position, no sitting back into the bar. Just I'm gonna go down and up with this a few times, and he does it effortlessly. And that's a compliment,
I appreciate it.
A while back, I was feeling all good about myself. I had on, I think 5 or 6 plates on the front squat machine. And Akim comes over and he's like, "You guys got another set?" I said, "We're done." And he started with the weight I left off with.
There you go.
I don't know if you remember that. And went up to, I think, 11 plates on each side. And I'm like, my God. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Motivation.
I love it. So what's next for you, brother? What's the next step? What do you got your eyes on the what are you looking at to do next?
So Monday, April 24th, they announce who's invited to the Masters Olympia, which will be held in Romania on August 26th. And if I'm blessed that I'm invited, it'll be amazing. It'll be, an opportunity to step on an Olympia stage. I've never had that opportunity. Going to do the best I can. I'm going to train to win, but also be realistic.
Mm-hmm. That would complete your bodybuilding story right there.
Yeah,
that would go full circle. That would full circle this whole thing, brother. That would be. I'm rooting for you, brother, because that would.
Thank you.
Totally awesome.
It's kind of weird because, this door opened up for me, and I never imagined a door like this to open up, and I'm doing okay, and and I'm enjoying it. I'm actually happy. I'm actually like, I walk into a gym now with my head up held high, and I feel like I've accomplished, like now I'm already like thinking like, I'm doing something good. It is what it is. I'm 55 years old, going to be 56. I'm not 36 anymore. That page is turned, that chapter's done. And, I'm okay with moving forward and staying in the Masters. It would be great if the show was in the United States so my friends and family could come, but Romania is going to be a cool trip. And I got, the one thing I keep thinking about is, what do I do with food? How do I get my food and all that stuff? Like I'm thinking that, so maybe Akim can help me with that one.
Well, I mean, you're talking to somebody that actually took fish to China, so.
Fish to China.
Back in 2017 or 2018, I think they had the Arnold Classic in China, and I was going to China to do the Arnold Classic. And I actually was able to get, 2016, I think it was. I was able to get fish into the country, take fish from the U.S. into China. Yeah. And to this day, everybody's always asking me, like, how the hell you manage that?
What'd you put in your suitcase?
Just checked it.
No,
Trifecta. Go ahead.
I actually put it in my carry-on.
Holy shit.
Because if I checked it, I think they would have found it. So I put it in my carry-on because they don't really check your carry-on. And once you go through the machine in the U.S., when you get to China, you don't really check anything. So that's how I was able to get it in.
Yeah.
Well, I'll figure something out.
But you could probably have trifecta sent over. That's good because it's frozen, it's freezing. Yeah. So like their meals, you could probably get over there. And then I've been to Romania and I've competed in Romania. And to be quite honest with you, they have all the food we can get here.
Yeah.
You just gotta go in and tell them how to make it.
You just gotta go in there, go shopping, or find a place to make your food. Get there, get settled a little early, and put it all together.
Yeah, I figured I'll have the food I need for the trip and the next day on me.
Yeah.
And then go to the store. Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. But the most important thing is your packs of meals to take with you. That way you're not starving on that long plane ride over there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But once
I already booked an Airbnb for a week before. So I'm going to fly out the Friday night a week before. So that way I'm there on Saturday morning, a week out, and get acclimated to the time zone, to change, go to the gym, train.
And the plane flight, because the plane flight will mess it up pretty good too.
Yeah. So
I love it, brother. You've already got your plans made. Now we know. Now we really got to get that. We need that answer to be yes. Let's go, brother.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
We'll see it. I'll see on April 24th. I hope they let us know, like, all the particulars, because right now we don't really know much. We don't know, does invite mean our airfare is going to be paid for, hotel? What does invite mean? We don't know. We don't know anything. So everyone's biting their nails and just waiting for the 24th, because a lot of guys, Masters guys, will reach out to me and ask me if I heard anything, or and I'm like, no, I don't know anything, bro. I'm just like you. I'm in the dark. We're gonna know when it's announced on Instagram or an email, I guess. So
right
on.
Yeah, so I'm excited. And
well, very cool, brother. That is, I mean, I'm so pulling for you because if literally after 40 years of bodybuilding, finally ending up on the Olympia stage, that's the ending to the story we need for you. That's totally awesome. You know?
That'd be great. I'm looking forward to it if it happens. So
that's it. Well, brother, we want to thank you for taking the time to come on with us, man. You were gracious to give us over an hour of your time today. We really appreciate it. Before we wrap this baby up, Nick or Ak, you got anything for Vinny before we wrap it up?
Nah, man. I mean, my connection was pretty bad today. I don't know what's going on with my connection. You guys lost me a few times, but it's been a pleasure. You know, I'm seeing you in Sean and Shapely all the time, so I'm gonna be keeping track of your progress, and you know, whenever you need my help for a spot or whatever, I'm there for you, bro.
Oh, thank you.
I definitely hope you get that invite to the Masters Olympia, and I know you're gonna kick some ass.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I wish you nothing but the best of luck, and I'm going to tell you right now, winning that Masters title is absolutely amazing. It really is, because I did World's Strongest Man 10 times. I made the finals twice, but I won the Masters Olympia, and it is just the icing on the cake. When I won Masters World's Strongest Man, it was like winning the whole thing. So you're gonna get it. You're gonna win it, and it's gonna be fun to watch.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna train like I'm training to win. And
that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Nothing else than that.
Well, brother, I gotta say, man, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Not very often. I mean, I'm an old schooler too, but not very often I get to speak with someone who's actually been competing for 40 years. So, brother, I got to say, you know, for all of our listeners out there, if Vinny doesn't inspire you to become consistent, I don't know we'll ever have another human being on this show who's actually been competing for 40 years. So, for all of you watching and listening, thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If Vinny is not going to spark something in you to be consistent, I don't know who the hell will. We will see you next time.
Thank you.
Legends of Iron is brought to you by Muscle Bits.
It's time to stop around. You want to build some muscle? You want to build some serious muscle? Well, guess what? Beef builds muscle. RTD, carnivore, ready to drink, lactose free, tastes great. You want to build some muscle? You better start eating some beef.
Beef up with Carnivore RTD. 40 grams of protein, 0 fat, 0 sugar, 0 lactose. What the are you waiting for? Get yours today.